for today's meeting of Tuesday, September 21st. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Szymanski.
Here.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Here.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Here.
City Manager.
Here.
City Attorney.
Here.
DPW Director.
Here.
Planning and Zoning Director.
Here.
Police Chief.
Here.
City Engineer.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Are there any citizens that would like to make comments on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All agenda items marked with an asterisk are on the consent agenda and considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to the approval of the consent agenda, any member of council may have an item from the consent agenda removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Consent agenda items include approval of minutes, payroll, invoices, notification regarding next work session, consideration of Manistee High School homecoming parade. At this time, council could take action to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Make that motion.
A second.
Thank you. Unfinished business, we have none.
We need to take a vote.
Sorry. Heather, will you-
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Szymanski.
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Yes.
Mayor Beaton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Unfinished business, we have none. Under new business, consideration of approving a contract award for the Marina Dock Replacement Phase 2. A Michigan Department of Natural Resources Waterways grant has been received, and proceeds from the capital improvement bond have been allocated to replace 5 docks at the city municipal marina. The project was designed and permitted during Phase 1. The project was publicly bid, with 2 bids being received. Great Lakes Dock and Materials, LLC, $425,775. Fisher Contracting Company, $467,525. The low bid is within the budgeted amounts for the total project. The city attorney has reviewed and approved the contract documents. At this time, council could take action to approve a contract with Great Lakes Dock and Materials, LLC, in the amount of $425,775 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the documents.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I have a question. Is this the same company that did the docks last year?
It was a couple years ago. It is not the same contractor. The second low bidder was the contractor that installed it the first time.
Okay. And the price per dock, is it comparable to what we paid 2 years ago, or is it significantly more?
Did you update the estimate since Phase 1?
We actually used for the grant, we used the same pricing as from Phase 1. So these are very comparable. It's a little bit higher, but it's in the neighborhood within 5 to 10%.
So the engineer's estimate is based on the numbers that we did Phase 1. The bids came in slightly higher, but honestly, they're way below what I expected them to be. The second low bid by Fisher is more in line with what I was expecting, so we're very, very pleasantly surprised with the low bid.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments? Hearing none, Heather, what do you think? Roll.
Mayor Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Szymanski.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Consideration of a commercial riverfront lease agreement with Little River Holdings Company. Holdings LLC. The City of Manistee has property along the Manistee River Channel that they lease to adjacent property owners for personal boat slips and marinas. The property owned by Little River Holdings LLC, 480 Water Street is included in this section. The current recorded lease was executed with the previous owners of the property in the amount of $1 per year based upon the easement granted to the city over adjoining property. The lease agreement was entered into December 5th, 2017, with an ending date of December 31st, 2022. Attached is a new commercial riverfront lease agreement between the City of Manistee and Little River Holdings, LLC, for 480 River Street in the amount of $1 with an ending date of December 21st, 2022, as prepared by the city attorney. At this time, council could take action to approve the commercial riverfront lease agreement with Little River Holdings, LLC, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Yeah, George, could you explain that agreement?
It's a little bit different than some of the leases where there is compensation paid to the city. But in this transaction, when the lease was initially negotiated with Dennis Johnson, when he owned the property, they gave to the city an easement to extend the Riverwalk. And so in return for granting to the city a permanent easement, the city agreed that the lease for that property owner would only be $1 a year. And that's why it's different than, say, the Riverside Motel property, which leases and actually compensates the city for the lease agreement.
But if I'm not mistaken, currently, there really isn't any commercial aspect to that property.
That's correct. That's correct as well.
Small little dock that you could tie something up to, but I don't even know that you could actually dock there.
Yes, I believe that is correct, yes.
So from what I understand, though, when this expires in '22, if they decided that they wanted to develop a marina going across that property and connecting the two marinas, then we would then be able to negotiate for compensation.
I think
fair-
probably so, Mayor Pro Tem. There isn't any real, I mean, I look back at the history and there wasn't a whole lot of written documentation about the transaction, other than it was pretty clear from the letter exchanges that I've reviewed that the reason for the $1 a year was the granting of the permanent easement to the city.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I guess you can take a roll call vote now.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Beaton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Szymanski.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski,
Yes.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Consideration of a parcel split at 159 Quincy Street. A request has been received from Mr. Barwise, owner of 159 Quincy Street, 51-51-146-713-04, to split his parcel with a garage on it. It is his intent to sell the land and garage to his neighbor, Mr. Runyon, at 149 Quincy Street. Mr. Runyon has already submitted a parcel combination form in preparation of this land division. The parcels meet zoning requirements, and the city assessor has confirmed that the split is legal and allowable. The City of Manistee Planning Commission must give their recommendation to City Council for the parcel split request to continue. At this time, council could take action to approve the parcel split.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any discussion? None? Oh, and now we have Zach. Would you like to talk about it?
I'm ready to answer any questions you guys have. Hopefully, hopefully this will be the last one. I had Heather put the form up this week, so the form that you guys approved the last time, so this is hopefully the last one that we have to really have this sort of issue with.
Okay, great.
And you don't see any issues at all on either side of this with the parcel split?
On this one,
Yes.
there were no issues. He just didn't want to have to maintain that garage anymore. I guess it's a 3-car garage or maybe more. And he said he was getting out of toys and shops, and the neighbor is just getting into them. So I've already got both of their checks waiting to cash and want to get those guys moving on. So,
Thank you. Any other discussion from council members on a split? Okay. Heather, please take the roll call vote.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin Pontiac.
Yes.
Mayor Beaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Szymanski.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Now we come to notices, communications, and announcements. We are lucky to have John Helge here with a report from the Tree Commission.
Madam Mayor and City Council members, thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today and bring you up to speed a little bit on what your Tree Commission is doing. I am honored to be serving as the Tree Commission chairperson, and I'd like to just tell you a little bit about why we exist and what our plans are for the coming year. We're in existence basically to develop and support really what I'd like to refer to as a vegetation management plan for the city. And you can see here on your slide in front of you, this is directly from our bylaws, and it kind of sets the stage for what we do. Now, who are we? Here are the members of the commission right now, and I wanted to highlight Jerry Haw. Has a star by his name because he's the incumbent. The rest of us are rookies. We're all brand new to this. And the other thing I'd like to highlight here is the fact that we have 2 vacancies, and one of our goals is to fill those vacancies with citizens that are engaged and interested in helping us develop our urban forest strategy for the city of Manistee. I just want to give you this Venn diagram a little bit to show what we're up against and what the challenges are when you talk about the urban forest. You know, Manistee is unique in the fact that we're surrounded by a national forest. We've got trees that, you know, go forever. You head east of town here and you can see trees all you want. But right here in town, it's very important that we have a very viable and sustainable urban forest, you know, in our city. Because I'll tell you, I've got experience in looking at some of the small municipalities in the Upper Peninsula that have lost most of their trees along their roadways, and those are pretty sad communities right now, for many reasons, but not the least of which is that greenery is no longer there. So again, some of the challenges, we have to understand that we've got the public spaces, public green spaces that the tree commissions are responsible for, but we need to be able to work with the citizens of Manistee to make sure that their private green spaces too are supported, and that they understand, you know, the best practices that are available for developing that. I want to just highlight a little bit here about what's been going on. The pictures that you see here represent what we've been really focused on over the past 10 years. And sadly, it's been, you know, cutting the trees down. Diseased trees, trees that have exceeded their life cycle. And, you know, this is inevitable. It happens everywhere. And what we really want to do is, you know, improve upon this. We've got some data to share with you here. The fact that over the last 10 years, we've removed 407 trees from public spaces in the city, and we've only planted 227, so we're behind. And one of the goals that you'll see in a few slides is the Tree Commission. We want to change that ratio. We want to get to the point where we're replacing every tree that we have to remove. And, you know, this is the reason why. We want to have a verdant, sustainable urban forest going in the city of Manistee. And we've got some great facilities. You know, our parklands are fantastic. Most of our boulevards are in good shape, but we want to keep them that way. And I think that thinking ahead is very important to that. So I'd like to share with you our vision for this resilient urban forest that we've got. And what's that going to be? Basically distilling it down to the, you know, the critical few. Number one, we want to plant more trees than we cut. We want to focus on planting native trees and shrubs. This is an important aspect because again, some of these beautiful trees that we see out here, for example, the Crimson King maple, you know, that are out there like in front of this building, those are not native. And they're not very conducive, you know, to providing habitat for, you know, the animals and that we want to, you know, have in our city. So again, we want to work on making sure that we've got native trees that are going to be sustainable, that are going to be able to stand up to our winters, stand up to the fact that they're going to get snow and salt put on them, you know, all those things that happen. We're going to work to develop a citywide vegetation master plan. Several cities, several other municipalities along the western Michigan lakeshore have developed a master plan. And we're going to unabashedly plagiarize those plans and you know, adapt it to the city of Manistee. And last but not least, we want to obtain and sustain recognition as a Tree City USA. And how do we do that? Well, this next slide shows that there are basically 4 requirements that we need to make sure that we attain. And each one of these are attainable. That's spending at least $2 per capita on urban forestry. I can assure you that we're doing that now with the folks at the Department of Public Works and the work that they're putting in. We're exceeding that. Celebrating Arbor Day. We've got an idea there. You know, Arbor Day is in April of 2022, and we're already starting the planning process for that. We're going to hopefully align ourselves with the Malarch family out in Kopemish that have these beautiful heritage trees. And they've offered us an opportunity to plant some sequoias. You know, and we've got these beautiful sequoias that are out there right now at the Audubon Society. We'd love to have a couple of those in the city of Manistee in appropriate areas. So we're going to be thinking about how we can do that. And I think that's going to be a key point of our Arbor Day celebration next year. What do we need to succeed? We're working right now. We've got an RFP in place asking for a part-time consulting contract with a qualified arborist. We obviously want to recruit 2 additional commission members who are going to be engaged with us in promoting the urban forest in the city of Manistee. And we're documenting an audit of the current city trees. This is a great project for a Boy Scout. You know, these Boy Scouts that got to work on their Eagle project. This is one of the things that we're going to be working with and seeing if we can get their help. This is not going to be done overnight, but we'd like to know where every one of the trees on city property is, what the species is, how big it is, those type of things. We're going to develop that as part of our commission work. We obviously need to increase our community engagement and public relations. We as a commission, we want the folks in Manistee to know that this is not just a group that gets together and drinks coffee. We're going to get some stuff done. And last but not least, I just want to highlight again this great support we've got from our Department of Public Works. They've done a fantastic job. They're making sure, number one, that trees are safe. We're not creating a problem that's, you know, a potential health and safety problem in this city. And they do a great job of not only trimming and taking down the trees, but I don't know if you noticed, there was some stump grinding that went on here recently. Those ground stumps, the holes were filled in, and boy, the grass is growing up now. It looks good. So again, thanks a lot, Jeff, to you and your staff. You're doing a great job. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. I'm open to any questions from the council.
Don, do we have any of those? I mean, I see the bugs, they keep advertising about different bugs hitting the country all over different trees. Do we have any problems with them?
Well, we did, you know, and a lot of the trees that we're taking down in the last 3 years are the result of the emerald ash borer and those type of, you know, infestations. The challenge that you're going to have there is that's always going to happen. And what we want to do is make sure that the trees that we're planting now are resistant to those type of, you know, problems, whether it be disease, whether it be insects, those type of things. So again, the consulting arborist is going to help us with that. Okay?
Right.
Any other questions?
Does our ordinance come up to speed for you, for the tree commission?
I'm sorry?
Does our ordinance come up to speed with our tree commission?
The ordinance?
Yeah.
Yes. I believe the ordinance that we have in place right now that we're operating under is good, is fine. And the biggest challenge that we have is making sure that we're complying with that ordinance. And, you know, that's where we are as a commission. We're working really diligently now to do that. We're picking up the pieces after the COVID, you know, shutdown and everything. And again, with all us rookies on the group, we're learning as we go along.
Now, when you start with the Boy Scouts,
Yep.
are you gonna ask the people on a form to send in what trees they got on their property?
No, we're going to focus on city property, trees on city property. I think that's got to be our first focus. So again, what we want to do is get the Boy Scout out there, you know, to perform that audit, document where those trees are, and I think it'd be a great project, you know, and it's probably going to take 2 or 3 of these young potential Eagle Scouts to do that. I don't anticipate anyone doing
Girl
it.
Scouts, yeah.
Girl Scouts can help too.
Girl Scouts too, that's right.
And they can be.
Absolutely. I think we have to refer to it as Scouts. Okay?
So,
Any other questions?
Is,
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
How many trees have you planted this year?
How many trees have we planted this year? If you go back, well, okay, in 2020, we planted 1.
I mean, this year, 2020, we're in 2021, right?
In 2021, Jeff, we haven't planted any this year yet.
You confused me on what year we were in. Sorry, okay. And then do you have an arborist already that you're working with?
No, we do not have one
Okay.
yet.
I'm actually related to one of the
I know you are.
cities.
So hopefully when this RFP comes out, that we can,
Okay.
they can respond to that.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Mick.
I've had a complaint listed several times for a large poplar tree that has been planted in the city right-of-way, and it has been destroying their plumbing, the sewers. They've had their sewers, this is the second time that they had to replace their sewer lines going from their home to the street because of this poplar tree. And it is not an authorized tree for the right-of-way. But whenever they submit a request to have the tree taken down, they're saying, well, the tree is healthy, we don't touch healthy trees.
Well, I would respond to that with the fact that the tree roots are, you know, getting into the sewer lines of this person. That's kind of a, if you cut the tree down, it's not necessarily going to solve the problem. Okay, that's more a symptom of it. I would say that what really needs to be looked at is why are our roots getting in there, and is there a way to, you know, have a maintenance program there? I've had to have my sewer line rotor-rooted out because of.
No, they had Forbes replace their sewer for $22,000 2 years ago.
Okay.
And put a brand-new connection in, apparently. And it is now, again, the same tree, and Forbes is basically saying, this is the cause. As long as this tree is growing, these roots and this type of tree will continue to cause the problem, so.
Well, again, I'd have to advise that I can't
doesn't
see
make-
how, you know, if you look at,
Any difference what if the tree is not authorized to be in the right-of-way?
it really doesn't. We have to, the thing we're going on right now is it a healthy tree? And, you know, is it, you know, not causing any kind of a safety issue or potential safety issue? That's really what we need to look at. Right?
And if I can just add. to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why it's so important for us to have that inventory, so that way we know what tree is authorized and when it, you know, not necessarily when at this point, but moving forward, we'll know, okay, that's a new tree. We did not, you know, that wasn't authorized by us. You know, that wasn't authorized by DPW. So moving forward, that's a problem we're hoping to fix with that inventory.
Okay.
Mr. Helge, I have a question for you. When you talk about the Boy Scouts categorizing all of the trees that the city owns, you know, we have 180 acres of parks. Are they going to do the parks as well?
That would be the intent, yes. It would be every tree. We want to do an inventory and an audit of every tree on city property.
Okay, that is an ambitious project.
That's a major project.
And that would include all the right-of-ways
Pardon?
and the right-of-ways as well?
Absolutely right. All of our street right-of-ways on city property. So, yeah, it's a major project. But basically, if you look at it, if we get it done, it's going to be good for, maybe 100 years. And easy to update, if we have a document. So it's a challenge. It's not going to happen overnight.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Thank you for your comprehensive report. I didn't know that.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity, and take care.
Thank you for volunteering.
Okay. All right, I think we've come to practically the end. Citizens and comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement. Citizens in attendance shall be recognized by the mayor for comments, limited to 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read. Do we have any citizens' comments? Moving on to officials and staff. Mr. Gamble, you are city manager. Would you like to make a few comments?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. The Army Corps of Engineers issued their lake levels projection for the month, and the highest part of the projected range for Lake Michigan Huron is lower than the highs that we've experienced the last couple of years through February, so I think that's good news. The Parks and Rec Master Plan, the draft for the 5-year master plan is ready. It was prepared as a regional plan for 21 communities. They talked about it at the summit, so we'll have that available online, City Hall, for people to take a look at it. Jeff McCula at the Parks Commission provided it to the Parks Commission as well. So we'll be having to schedule a public hearing soon, and that'll be to gather more public comment. I think it's all has to be kind of wrapped up at the beginning, near the beginning of the year, so that we'll be eligible for grants from for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. A couple updates on the Manistee Middle School and High School traffic safety. We added additional crosswalk signage and high visibility paint, so thank you to Jeff and his crew at 12th and Oak. In addition, we're working with Spicer to schedule a traffic engineer to examine the traffic situation during the drop-off in the morning, also when school is let out and during football games. So we'll get kind of more recommendations about what we can do to address this situation and work with the schools. So thank you to Chief Glass, Spicer, Sean.
Are they going to look at the intersection too on 31 and 12th?
At Maple?
No.
31 and 12.
31, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think all the way down to 31.
Okay.
So we'll keep you updated with what we find with that as well. So I'll be meeting with, been meeting with staff this last week and a half and various other stakeholders, meeting with the mayor of our weekly meeting on Thursday, and then with other council members. I know some are I'm eager to meet with you, and thank you very much this last week and a half. I appreciate all the hospitality and getting to know everyone in the community. So thank you.
City attorney,
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
city clerk,
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
thank you. City engineer,
Nothing,
DPW director,
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Chief Glass,
I don't have anything, thank you.
Mr. Samsel, do you have anything else? Okay. Councilmember Song?
Me?
Yeah.
So I just got a question for Chief Glass. Is the school gonna have somebody out there, staying out there, letting the kids cross the street?
We're trying to work through that right now.
Okay.
Work through the issue of is there a crossing guard needed and whose responsibility is. That's part of this whole overview, establishing what's sustainable, whose responsibility it's gonna be. I know that from our officers working when they can in those areas, they do have staff out there, I don't wanna say directing traffic, but
Well,
having
my
people.
concern is the school, like a couple of years ago, we had the same problem, and they'd send either a teacher or staff member or somebody out there to help the kids cross the street. And it lasted for like a week or two, and then it just dissolved, and nobody, like, they're all over the place.
Yeah,
And I think the problem is they, you know, that school was going to be just the high school, and they keep packing more and more kids in there, and it's too congested. Like, I almost can't even do it in the morning. It's ridiculous.
We've spent close attention to what mornings look like and afternoons, and I suspect that that's going to be part of the conversation. We have the engineer take a look at it and make recommendations. Do we need some type of crossing guard? Do we need traffic control devices? What is the bigger picture? And that's why I think it's so important to have the engineer come and put eyes on in person, morning, afternoon, and Jeff McCool had a great suggestion of having it during a football game. So that's part of the same conversation.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the concern is, what is sustainable, whether it be school staff or what can we sustain? If you have a crosswalk system or cross guard system, you have to have something that's sustainable. You can't have them on Mondays and not on Tuesdays, and so I think it's all part of the same conversation.
So I don't know, I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Grand Rapids, and we had, like, when you got to the 6th grade, you got to be a crossing guard.
Mhm.
I don't know if they ever had anything like that here, to where, you know, you get the little strap thing and you can, you know.
There are schools that are nearby that have a very similar program where they have school staff as crossing guards, and then the kids are crossing safety something. At the end of the year, they take a Michigan's Adventure as a reward. I don't know if we've had that in Manistee. I don't think that we have.
I know when my son was at Kennedy, they needed a crossing guard there bad, like, and I even offered to pay for the equipment, like the safety belts, the training, everything, and it just kind of, like, everybody just forgot about it, and then the kids are running rampant, and, you know, there's no kind of structure. It's not that hard. There's 3 schools, there's 3 sets of intersections that need to be looked at, and I don't know if that's something that you can look into, that where the kids are, you know,
We are
crossing.
looking into all aspects, and we have a number of different schools, and so, like I said, that's part of that same conversation. What does a traffic engineer recommend? Does he recommend a crossing guard system? Does he recommend traffic control devices? When I was there yesterday or today, I can't remember, the issue I saw at the middle high school was the parent pickup and the buses were all coming out of the same place, the same area the kids are crossing. So I think there's a lot of things to look at as far as internal traffic flow as well as the whole corridor.
Well, and everybody's on their best behavior now because you guys are sitting there too.
But the problem is we can't always, part of the problem is we can't always sit there.
Right.
Monday, Tuesday, if we have 3 officers on, certainly we can sit there and we work the traffic control, but it's hard for us to make that commitment when we get an emergency
But you
call.
don't get to see the full effect because you're sitting there, so everybody's behaving.
That's why I sit in my truck. I'm kind of sneaky in my truck, but I think it's important to have eyes on to see.
I just don't want it to just go away and people are shooing it under the rug and, you know, they're still.
No, I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's going to spur more conversations with staff giving options. Here's the different options. Which way do we want to go? How do we fund it? And nothing can happen without the school being on board. My conversation with the school, they're going to be part of the solution in some way, shape, or form. So.
Okay.
I think, though, that the main thing is with the school activities is because you've got more of the kids that are excited and not paying attention. So that was a really good idea of examining where there's issues there too.
Yeah, certainly. And I don't want to talk out of turn here, but I think that, you know, I've only been a chief for 1 year, but I think when they increased the kids in the building, I don't know if we took a hard look at how that would impact traffic in that area. That's my suspicion. But we're here now and we're going to take a look at it, so.
Okay.
Well, I walk there every day with my dog, and do they, I'm trying to remember how many signs you have on 12th Street.
Related to school?
Yeah, right up to.
We have one new one, I can tell you that.
There's one dedicated crosswalk.
Signs, he's saying. I mean, you're asking for how many signs?
The school signs.
Yeah, because I mean, when you come down from the school, you got way to Oak Street before you get to go across the street.
Right, so a couple things that are planned in our transportation improvement plan, we actually are planning to widen the road from Oak Street up to the entrance into the school. And that will make the corridor all the way from Tamarack to US 31 meet their major street standards, have sidewalks on both sides, and then also have the bike lanes. So, I mean, you're familiar with the first one we did, Maple to Oak, we just did Maple to US 31. The segment that the school originally built for their driveway, so and they had to do it as a driveway so they could use the bond money when they built the school. They eventually turned that over to the city, but it is not wide enough. So where Chief Glass is talking about that the cars are crossing, it's up towards Elm Street, which is the gravel road or roadway that goes up by the old track. You've got all those traffic movements, you've got all the pedestrian movements, you've got the kids going from the high school, middle school to Kennedy. So once that sidewalk's in there, then there'll be some changes with the dedicated crossing up closer to the school, and it will be easier to regulate. So we're looking at what can we do immediately, which was make that a high vis and then add signs. The signs that are there are not the ones the engineers recommended. I put up what we had, and we've got the proper ones still coming. There's a long lead time to get those. Then we're looking for that intermediate step. What can we do now, in the next year or two? And then after that construction occurs, I think we've got that in 23. So it's in our transportation improvement plan for 23. That'll add another layer and be useful. But then what's the plan at that point? So
Is there any,
we've been doing a lot of collaborating with Chief Glass.
is there any plans to move that telephone poles right at 12th and Maple? Because those big buses try to swing and they have a heck of a time with the cars on the other side of the street.
The telephone poles, no, the radiuses actually were re-poured to a greater radius just to allow for to allow for the bus turning movements. The big challenge at that intersection is the pine tree on the southwest corner. And we have discussed that. Number one, it's outside the city limits. Number two, it's on private property. And so we've been looking for avenues. I've reached out actually a couple of years ago to the road commission to see if they had any suggestions on a solution to it. Because everybody knows to stop at the stop bar and protect the crosswalk, you can't see to the south. So then you have to inch forward, and now you're inside the crosswalk before you can safely make your turn.
Is it a big pine tree?
Yeah.
Very large.
They might want to donate it to the Belt Parade.
I think somebody asked her about that. She didn't want to take it down or
Yeah.
cut the branches or anything.
Communicating with
So
Josh on that.
we're looking at all aspects of that.
I'm good.
Anything else?
Okay.
I have one more thing.
Well,
Oh,
Not for Chief Glass, though.
Okay.
So this is for the News Advocate, and it's not directed towards you personally.
Yeah.
The topless bar article that was written on the jailhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was in pretty poor taste to not have all the facts, and it created a lot of, unnecessary drama for, Carrie and Rusty. And I think that, they do a lot of stuff for a lot of people in the community that a lot of people don't know about, like they do it under the radar.
Yeah.
So I think that, in somewhere, when they open up and they start their business, they deserve some positive recognition and maybe an apology for.
Yeah, I mean, I'll that's on my beat, I'm
Okay.
I'm Scott.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't directed to you, but I just,
Yeah, I mean, I think Scott should have just been, because basically the correction was that they submitted every permit they could, so they to, have as many options as possible, and I think he looked at it and was like, well, look, this, and I think there was just kind of an oversight that should have been double checked, and,
okay,
yeah.
I'm done now.
Councilwoman Martin Pontiac.
I just want to say thank you. Good job on the 2 houses in my district. Flushing it looks good. Glad to see that they're gone.
Mr. Grabowski.
Yeah, I just want to say that I was happy as many people showed up for the